Since 1990, over 1,500 deadly or near-deadly incidents involving captive wild animals have been documented across the United States, including at least 806 attacks by big cats, hundreds of primate-related injuries, and multiple fatalities from pet reptiles. Imagine being part of that statistic, waking up and realizing your so-called pet is about to devour you. As hard as that is to picture, it's happened more than once. From monstrous pythons slithering out of enclosures to bears that were hand-fed like yard squirrels, these are wild predators forced into our suburban backyards and living rooms. You can guess how well that ends. Hold on to your popcorn, we're about to see 4 epic failures in animal whispering. What legal exotic pet is responsible for the most deaths? How did a circus tiger get its revenge on its owners? And how did one deadly mistake cost the life of this exotic reptile owner? And for anyone thinking they can pull off a Joe Exotic after a weekend Netflix binge, you might want to watch this to the end.
Ow, son of a bitch!
The peaceful mountains of Uray County, Colorado served as the backdrop for Donna Munson's lifelong devotion to wildlife. A 74-year-old widow battling arthritis, she insisted on feeding animals, particularly the local black bears, for over a decade, leaving out everything from dog food to fruit scraps. As her health declined, Donna built a makeshift wire fence around her porch to keep from being overwhelmed by the massive creatures that frequently prowled her property at night. Neighbors watched nervously as up to 14 bears roamed her land, scratching at windowsills and cars lured by the promise of easy meals. Despite repeated warnings from the Colorado Division of Wildlife and those anxious neighbors, Donna insisted she was helping the bears. She even named them, believing they posed no danger to her. But as the bears grew bolder, so did the tension in the community. Tenants with small children moved out. Donna's housekeeper dreaded every visit. Yet Donna's kindness outweighed the mounting threats. Until it was too late. On August 7, 2009, authorities discovered Donna's body near her porch, mauled and partially consumed. Investigators concluded a bear had reached through her flimsy fence, dragged her underneath, and killed her. Even while the police gathered evidence, one of the massive bears returned, still looking for food. It was a haunting end to Donna's dream of living in harmony with the wild, a dream that ultimately came at a terrifying cost. These aren't oversized teddy bears to play or cuddle with, something the grizzly man, Timothy Treadwell, believed before his fateful attack. Globally, between 2000 and 2015, there were 664 documented brown bear attacks on people, resulting in 95 deaths. Even the iconic Yellowstone National Park has logged 44 bear attacks since 1979. Simply put, when the claws come out, no amount of familiarity can guarantee your safety. Let that sink in for a minute. If you turn wild predators into regular lunch guests, you might end up on their menu. In the aftermath of Donna Munson's death, the Colorado Department of Wildlife euthanized several bears in the area for public safety. Local residents were outraged that these animals had to die. So what should you do if a bear decides to swipe right on you for dinner? Don't feed them. When you give food to bears, you're just training them to associate you with food. Stay calm if you encounter a black bear. They will often do a bluff charge to test your dominance. So stand your ground, make noise, and wave your arms to appear large. Carry bear spray. In many cases, it's more effective than a firearm at close range. But let's say you're still convinced you're the next bear whisperer. Please, maybe just adopt a pug instead.
If you can't be a responsible pet owner, then maybe you don't deserve this little unicorn.
If you think Donna Munson's story was shocking, wait until you hear about how a 400-pound tiger gave its owners a standing ovation by ripping them apart. Welcome to the flamboyant world of the Cat Dancers, a trio of performers who tangoed on stage with majestic big cats. This ensemble included husband and wife Ron and Joy Holiday, plus their dance partner, Chuck Lizza. For years, they dazzled crowds with their up-close illusions of harmony between humans and tigers. Their star attraction was a regal white tiger named Jupiter. If you have watched Tiger King, you know that playing with tigers is basically dancing with a loaded gun.
Son of a
On October 8, 1998, this unconventional menage a trois experienced a devastating turn. Chuck was walking toward Jupiter, calmly sitting in the open compound that was the cat dancer's ranch, when, without warning, the tiger lunged and clamped down on his throat.
Fangs this long went in here and here completely. A fountain of blood was squirting out this far.
Chuck bled out on the spot, shattering Ron and Joy's world. It was every caretaker's worst nightmare. Tragically, that was only the beginning. 5 weeks later, Joy was still reeling from Chuck's death. She hadn't gone near the babies since the attack, but finally summoned the courage to feed them again. Everything went smoothly until it was time to feed Jupiter. Suddenly, Joy began trembling in fear.
She started falling forward, and as she's falling forward, he grabbed her by the neck and threw her. She hit the ceiling and bounced on the floor.
She too lost her life to Jupiter's crushing jaws, proving just how quickly a beloved big cat can become a truly catastrophic threat. People who raise cats like this from cubhood often develop a false sense of security, a psychological phenomenon called the illusion of control. We think, oh, this tiger loves me, I'm its mom. But deep down, it's a 500-pound apex predator with the same instincts it's had for over 2 million years. It's estimated there are around 5,000 captive tigers in the United States alone, compared to approximately 3,900 in the wild worldwide. Many of these tigers are kept in substandard facilities or private homes. And while obviously not all captive tigers attack, the number of fatalities is significant enough that multiple states have enacted partial or full bans on private ownership. The aftermath was devastating for Ron Holiday. He lost his wife and close friend, all within the span of a few weeks, to the creature they had collectively raised and loved. Jupiter was ultimately shot and killed by authorities. Ron gave up performing, and the tragedy overshadowed his life's work. Some big cat enthusiasts still argue that you can truly tame a tiger, but the cold hard truth is a single slip can end your life. Something Roy Horn learned the hard way. If you haven't watched the Siegfried and Roy episode yet, be sure to check that out after this. If you ever find yourself face to face with a tiger, here are some survival tips that could come in handy. Don't run. Tigers are ambush predators. They'll outrun you, no contest. Keep eye contact, stand tall, and back away slowly. Never approach a tiger, cub or adult. If you see a friendly captive tiger, remember that kitty can crush your bones with a single bite. So before you decide to recreate the Jungle Book in your backyard, maybe invest in a cat that fits on your lap, not one that can devour you. But if tigers and bears don't set off your spidey sense, how about a monstrous reptile that can gnaw right through your arm? For lizard enthusiast Ron Huff, this was a risk he knew all too well. And if you find these stories mind-blowing, do us a solid and smash that like button and subscribe to How to Survive. Ron Huff was a 42-year-old ex-soldier who had once worked in military intelligence. He was known for his strict personal discipline, punctual at his car sales job, and fanatical about staying in shape. Friends said he could bench press 400 pounds, and he had the muscular build to prove it. Yet for all his outward rigor, Ron led a private life. He kept to himself in a small studio apartment in Newark, Delaware, rarely inviting people over. But those who did step inside discovered his real passion.
He had a collection of lizards. It was honestly a little intimidating. There was a lot of stuff in a small area.
Ron's fascination was Nile monitor lizards, large reptiles native to Africa. These creatures can grow up to 7 feet and weigh over 15 pounds. They're known for powerful jaws and a strong drive to hunt, making them formidable even to experienced handlers. They also thrive in hot, humid environments, which explains why Ron's apartment was cranked to 80 degrees Fahrenheit year-round. Nile monitors aren't shy about biting either. One coworker recalled Ron showing off a gash on his thumb with a flap of skin dangling from the wound. Despite such red flags, Ron let these reptiles roam freely in his home. In January 2002, Ron Huff did something uncharacteristic. He stopped coming to work. After 3 days with no word, his coworkers grew concerned.
We received a call to check on the welfare of Ronald Huff.
Officers arrived at Ron's apartment, where neighbors complained of a foul odor leaking through the walls. When they tried to force the door open, they felt resistance, like something heavy was shoved against it. What they found inside was beyond horrifying.
The police pushed the door open and screamed, "Get back," as loud as they could.
Huff's body lay partially consumed by 7 fully grown Nile monitor lizards, each nearly 6 feet long, roaming the small, overheated apartment like it was their own jungle. One responding officer described the gruesome scene.
I could see that his face was pretty well eaten. I could see his molars up where his ears should have been.
These are aggressive, powerful reptiles, strong enough to break down fences or doors if they escape their cage. The responding officers had no training in capturing animals like these. Even wildlife experts brought in to help admitted they had little experience handling full-grown Nile monitors. And if those lizards had gotten loose in the family-oriented apartment complex, the next victim could have been a small child. Despite their prehistoric appearance, monitor lizards don't rely on brute force alone. Many monitor species, including the infamous Nile monitor, produce venom, a chemical cocktail that can weaken or kill their prey. When combined with their powerful jaws and sharp claws, this toxin makes them extraordinarily lethal hunters. So, while it may be tempting to see them as oversized, scaly pets, their built-in biological weapon is a stark reminder that these reptiles still belong in the wild, not our living rooms. Imagine the police walking in only to find reptiles feasting on your remains. This scenario was so disturbing that tabloids around the world couldn't resist plastering it across their front pages. In the end, Ron's beloved pets overpowered a military veteran in prime physical shape. This harrowing incident exposed a terrifying truth. Even the strongest among us are no match for a pack of hungry predators once they decide it's mealtime. If you're ever bitten by a large monitor lizard, immediately clean and disinfect the wound to combat bacterial infection. Seek medical attention ASAP. These bites can lead to sepsis, a serious fast-spreading infection response in the body that can become life-threatening if left untreated. Resist the urge to keep wrestling it. Monitor lizards are strong and agile. They can deliver repeated bites, and their claws aren't exactly cuddly either. So next time you see a monitor lizard on sale at a reptile expo, ask yourself if you're prepared to feed it, or if it's prepared to feed on you. Pythons are majestic serpents that can grow longer than a pickup truck, up to 23 feet to be exact. In captivity, they've been known to roam bedrooms, slip out of enclosures, and occasionally wrap themselves around a sleeping human. Some owners do just fine with these snakes for years. Others, not so much. Daniel Brandon, a 31-year-old landscape worker from Church Crookham, UK, had a deep fascination with reptiles. He shared his bedroom with 10 snakes and 12 tarantulas, the centerpiece being an 8-foot African rock python named Tiny. Friends described Daniel as a responsible herpetologist who cared for his animals out of genuine curiosity rather than a desire to show off. However, his mother, Babs, acknowledged that Tiny could be unpredictable, occasionally striking at people who ventured too close. In August 2017, tragedy struck when Babs heard a loud crash and found Daniel face down on the floor. The medical examiner concluded he had died of asphyxiation, likely caused by Tiny coiling around him in either an affectionate or defensive manner. Sadly, there was no time to save him, underscoring the harsh reality that even the most conscientious reptile owners can fall victim to the creatures they cherish. According to a University of Michigan study, African rock pythons can exert over 7 pounds of pressure per square inch. enough to crush bone or stop blood flow. If a pet python starts to constrict you, stay calm. Thrashing around can make it tighten its grip. Try prying its coils away from your neck and chest to keep your airway open. If you can, have a second person help uncoil it from the tail upwards, never the head first, and seek immediate medical care for any injuries. Your best bet is to keep your distance from them, or maybe stick to looking at them behind a sturdy pane of glass. So, what did we learn today? That a massive exotic animal doesn't care how many times you've bottle fed it or posted selfies with it on Instagram. When instincts kick in, you're dealing with thousands of years of evolution. We also discovered that many owners genuinely believe they had a special bond with these creatures. A bond that turned lethal in an instant. Exotic animal attacks aren't just the stuff of tabloid headlines. They raise ethical questions about wildlife captivity, personal responsibility, and public safety. Over the years, many parts of the US have banned or heavily restricted owning big cats and venomous reptiles. For example, states like California and Hawaii have some of the strictest bans on exotics. If you're passionate about wildlife, consider supporting reputable sanctuaries or conservation programs instead of trying to keep a 400-pound predator in your garage. Let's be real, that's like inviting a T-Rex to a potluck. And if you thought these were disturbing, soon will make you question if man's best friend might instead be man's worst nightmare. We'll cover some of the deadliest dog attacks in our next episode. Thanks for tuning in, and remember that if you want to stay alive, keep watching How to Survive.